So as far as some of the strengths, when it comes to interviews, right? Dress appropriately. Probably business casual, look put together. We're going to talk about a few specific examples. Ask specific questions, right? So make sure they see that you're interested in it as well. And if you really, this is a job that you truly do want, I think some questions will come up kind of naturally that you hopefully want the answers to because you are engaged in that position. And if you literally are like, I have no questions, it might be a moment for you to kind of reflect. Why do you want this, job? Why do you want to spend, whatever 40 hours at this job? A little moment for reflection. Obviously, be honest. It's okay if you don't know quite the answer or you haven't had that experience. Like, it's okay to say that. And I know when I would interview folks, especially like students, when I'd interview interns, sometimes I was low-key looking for that to see, do they know their own gaps? And then, are they going to be willing to admit that, acknowledge that, and then figure out a way to move forward? Because, I don't want somebody who just thinks that they know absolutely everything and then might not be trainable or might not be willing and open to, come work with me or see me if something does go wrong. So just be honest. You want to have a good fit for them and for yourself. And so we kind of see a little theme of asking questions. So we are going to get into that before we wrap up today. Now, a few things that our partners wanted to make sure we shared with you to avoid. Don't be condescending, obviously, right? There's that fine line between being confident, knowing your value, knowing your worth, knowing your skills, and sort of talking down to people or being, maybe too prideful, boastful. So you just want to walk that line, and the best way to figure that out is to practice interviewing, practice describing yourself with your friends, pick people that are going to be honest with you. I'm sure we all have someone in our life that we love them because they will tell you the truth no matter what. So maybe practice responding and describing yourself with that person so you can find that line. Being too short with your answers, right? Don't give a yes, no. Use the stories that you identified that we've been talking about and practicing to make sure that you can expand and really show them what it is that you know and can do. Yeah, well, don't show up late, don't make them wait, be early. That's always good. I've definitely gone to interviews very early and then sat in my car, right? I was nervous. Am I going to find the building? Am I going to find parking? And so I would kind of plan to be almost 20 minutes early, but then I'm not going to walk in there 20 minutes early. Instead I, hung out in my car until it was about 10 minutes and then walked up to the office. So just kind of give yourself plenty of that buffer time so that way you're not showing up late. Although the last interviews I've done have all been on Zoom. And in that case, I was ready about 10 minutes at my computer, kind of testing things, and then actually logged on to the call about 4 to 5 minutes early, just to make sure I'm not creeping on them, probably prepping their side of the interview as well. All right, so let's talk about some clothes. I have a few examples from me and my partner's sort of sim me. Biggest rule of thumb, just keep it simple, professional. When in doubt, simple, clean, tidy, professional. If you don't have a lot of kind of professional or business clothes, know that at UCCS you can go to the Career Innovation Center. They do have a career closet where you actually can take clothes and you don't have to return them. You can take, I think it was 7 pieces of clothing a semester. And so that's a great place where you can find, a nice blazer, or you could find, maybe a little nice dress or a tie, because business clothes are frankly kind of expensive. They certainly can be. They're a bit of an investment. And so we do have that career closet on campus to help get you some of those clothes for your interviews. So first option, You can never really go wrong with a nice blazer. So some things just to keep in mind. Show your face. If you have, longer hair, you might think about just pulling it back so that way it's not, in your eyes, in your face, right? We want, as interviewers, right? I want to be able to see kind of your expression, your reaction. And I don't want you to kind of be hiding right behind a bunch of hair. So, just pull it back out of the way so you don't have to worry about it. If you have facial hair, I'd say just keep it, trimmed and tidy and either commit. So definitely, I don't want to see like sort of a 5 o'clock shadow situation either. You have facial hair, right? It's grown out and then you've trimmed it. The edges are nice, crisp, clean, or go completely clean shaven. If you're kind of in that in-between stage, it's just going to look like, you didn't bother to clean up for the interview. So either commit or, keep it clean. You also want to think about things like the small details. So I like to paint my nails. I always have since high school, but certainly when I'm about to give an interview, I go back and just make sure that I have a pretty neutral color, tans and browns and, just like very neutral colors, right? This is not the time where I put bright blue right on my fingers, and make sure that it is also nicely done. I don't want lots of chipping. Again, that's just small details that might communicate, hey, they aren't really paying attention to, the details and sort of bringing their best self forward. And then underneath your blazer, a solid button up is always going to be that nice, neutral, polished kind of look. If it's not a button up, just a really nice kind of blouse and a solid, fabric are just going to be good, kind of can never go wrong sort of options for you to think about. Again, keep it fairly neutral. You could show a little personality, right? Maybe a little pop of color here or there, but make sure it's just not distracting for sure. So the other option, if you're like blazers, not really my thing, or you are applying for a company that you think is a little bit more casual, right? So if you are applying for, more of these kind of military affiliated positions and contracts, like you're going to want to definitely go much more dressed up and for sure, very least have your blazer. You might even need a tie for some of those much more those types of jobs. But if you are applying to maybe work with a bunch of engineers and just doing their, startup documentation, they might be a lot more cash and they might give you a weird look if you show up too overdressed. So in this case, you might go a little bit more casual, but still polished, right? So if you're going to be wearing like a sweater, make sure it is a pretty, kind of nice, a little bit posh sweater, have a nice shirt underneath, and then slacks. Easiest way to dress up kind of an otherwise pretty casual, top would be wearing a nice pair of slacks, kind of elevated a little bit. You can also, this is a great place if you choose to wear like a dress that maybe you give a little bit of an accent, have a nice belt that shows off, a little bit more of your personality, but overall is still just a nice polished kind of refined look. The goal here is to basically not distract or draw too much attention with what you're wearing, right? We want them to pay attention to our words, right? Our stories, our kind of like personality and self, and not be like, oh, like what are they wearing, right? Neutral clothes so that way you shine as that focal point. And then when it comes to shoes, again, neutral and comfortable. Now, comfortable doesn't mean, tennis shoes, right? We do want to be still polished, but definitely pick shoes that maybe you've worn before to make sure they are going to be fairly comfortable. The biggest thing that I would definitely see with some interviews, it's like, wow, I could tell those are like brand new like clothes, or this is something they don't wear often because they were kind of picking at it and fidgeting and just looked uncomfortable. So you do want to make sure you look really polished, but have a sense of comfort and sense of self. So that way you can be your most confident and you're not like, fidgeting and, looking just really, really uncomfortable with what you are wearing. Yeah.